Hello, everybody, and welcome back to First Ring Daily, where, Paul, this is where we kick this podcast off, actually.
That's right, except not in a terrarium.
Yes, we are in the terrarium. There might be butterflies flying in at any moment here. But, yeah, at Ignite, how would you describe the weather?
Balmy does not even begin to describe the weird stickiness. It's so sticky and hot that the lens of your camera fogged up. We saw a bus that was completely obscured with liquid just from the humidity, I guess.
Yeah, sweat is on the agenda, but Microsoft has actually announced a ton of things at this event, and I think it's just time to dive in. They announced this 30 minutes ago that Office 2019 for Mac and PC is now available, but there's kind of a caveat with it. Did you catch?
The caveat being for commercial customers.
Yeah. So if you're going out there and hunting for download links, you're not going to find them unless you're a commercial customer and you'll already know where to grab that stuff. Consumers and everything else, did they give us a timeline?
Coming weeks. Well, but by the way, better than early 2019.
Yeah.
There's some Office 29 servers also coming in the coming weeks. So, yeah, if you're waiting for this stuff, if you have an Office 365 home or personal subscription, it could be a while. I'm actually not sure what the availability is for Office 365 commercial either, on that note.
Yeah, no, that's a good question.
This is the standalone version of Office 2019 only, the on-prem standalone version.
Yeah, and candidly, I think for most people, they're not really going to care. I mean, a lot of the consumers, they just need to open up Word, they need to write a document, they want Excel. They're not going to use the data analytics features, crunching their own personal finance, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think the big deal for individuals is just the user experience. It's not really changing.
Sure, that is a good point.
Microsoft is changing the Office user experience, but it's happening in Office 2016 right now. So if you're on Office 2016 and you're going to stay on Office 2016, it's fine. And I'm not even 100% sure what the delineation is there. It's been a couple of years. I guess we need to have a new version, but to me, it doesn't look like it's markedly different.
Yeah. But some of the news, I don't think Microsoft really talked about this too much on stage, but there was some Surface Hub 2 content that came out today, and it's interesting the way they pitched this. Paul, let's jump in the time machine back to spring of 2018, and Microsoft showed off the Surface Hub 2.
Yep.
Great, awesome visuals, nice video.
Yep.
And they said it's coming in 2019. And how did you interpret that?
That it was coming in 2019.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment because that's what Microsoft told us. It was coming in 2019. And the news out of Ignite today is that there's actually going to be two versions of the Surface Hub 2. There's going to be the 2S and the 2X. Now, the 2S is what is coming in 2019. It will look like a Surface Hub 2. It'll act like a Surface Hub 2, but it's actually a Surface Hub 1. And what they're doing is they're taking pretty much...
But explain what that means. In other words...
So it's going to run the original Surface Hub OS. So if you have a Surface Hub, either the 55 or the 80-inch version today, it is going to be the exact same software experience as that.
So why release that product?
It's a good question. Microsoft will tell us, or actually Microsoft did tell us, that the reason they did this is that they had customers that said, hey, we really just want the old version because we have them deployed and we don't want to run two operating systems, which to some extent I do buy that argument. I mean, if you have 15 of these things in your office, you don't want to be running 15 version 1 and 15 version 2 if you buy a whole bunch of them.
All right, so I buy what you just said up to that point, but let's record scratch this and go back to May of 2018 when they said they were going to release this thing in 2019. This thing being Surface Hub 2, this thing having the ability to connect the different screens, to twist it around and so forth. Now that thing is not coming out until 2020.
Correct.
So technically...
Yeah.
Technically.
So basically what they did was they took the shell of a Surface Hub 2 that we know and love, or whatever we liked, and then they gutted it and put the old bits in, and they're selling that next year as a Surface Hub 2S.
So it's like an Apple product.
Yes. Now, granted, what they are telling us is that it's a modular design, and I'm not talking what Paul was mentioning where you can connect the displays. What you can actually do is pull out the silicon or the compute unit and then put in a new one.
Really? Are you going to do it?
No, I won't. Okay. There's a slang term for that, where you reach under and grab the unit and pull it out, and that's how Microsoft described it. Nice. But you can put the new silicon in, and then you will actually get a Surface Hub 2X. So it is an upgradable device. Seemingly, it almost sounds like it's I don't want to say infinitely upgradable. You could do this many years in a row, but
Yeah.
they're
So-
definitely allowing this.
Right. Now, it's fair to say that a Surface Hub 2S and a Surface Hub 2X are externally identical,
Yes.
and that there's some kind of a compute module thing you can pull in and out that
Yep.
changes the guts, and that's what differentiates them.
Yep.
I still sort of think of those things as just being the same device, right? That it's
Right.
and if this had been ready for 2019, that perhaps the better approach might have been to offer customers at boot time which environment they want.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an existing customer who has Surface Hubs already deployed, maybe you want the the classic environment, the original environment. But I think they're not doing it because it is in fact the D word.
Yeah, we're dancing around the delayed word because it's hard to tell if Microsoft truly had this vision or this game plan in place.
Right.
There's a very good chance that they said, hey, in early 2018, we're going to build 2 of these things. This is exactly what we're going to do, which is fine.
Sure.
But that's not what they told us.
Sure.
They told us that this new version is coming next year, and here we are, and it's not coming until 2020.
To be fair to Microsoft, I mean,
Let's not be fair.
to be fair, the notion that customers provided them with feedback that made them change their plans
Yeah.
is completely believable. It
It
is
is.
understandable that customers would not want to mix and match different environments in the same place, and I actually do get that. But like I said, shipping that thing side by side with the thing they originally intended to ship
Right.
might have made more sense if it was possible.
Yeah. And that's kind of the crux of the argument, right? If
Yeah.
this thing wasn't delayed, then they would just be shipping both at the same time, but they're not. And so here we are. We still don't know a price point. It's coming in 2019. I believe Q2 is what they announced for the 2S.
Yep.
No price point. We don't even know all the specs. We don't know all the ports. So there's still a lot of information to kind of weasel out of this.
Now, we would have had an opportunity to see this thing,
Yes,
but unfortunately that is occurring. Actually, that's occurring right now, isn't it?
exactly at this moment.
We're doing this so that we can't do that.
Just because we love you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on here. So one of the other things that was announced today, and I think this is a deeper discussion, so they announced what's called the Cortana Skills Kit for Enterprise, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You can take, if you have a specific need with Cortana, you can build a custom set of rules that will then be executed upon a voice command.
Right. So sort of a Cortana skills version of a line of business app almost. It's something
Yeah.
specific to your environment.
Exactly. Now this sounds completely reasonable, right? I mean,
Yeah.
The question here is why did it take this many years to arrive?
Yep.
And it's not even really here yet. It's only available through invite only at this time.
Yeah. I would imagine in the enterprise the need for this is probably on the small side in that they're looking
Sure.
for companies that have this specific need, and part of the invite only
Yeah.
deal is you can show to them that you have an interesting use case for it.
Yep. But one of the things they showed off on stage, and I don't know why it took me this long to realize this, but Microsoft's Cortana is, I wouldn't say standing on solid ground. I mean, it's...
No, charitably.
Yeah, I mean, it's around. I don't think Microsoft's going to kill it off anytime soon. But what they showed off on stage is how anybody can build a digital assistant basically overnight. And I truly think that's Microsoft's role in this place. I believe they showed it with BMW.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be their thing. I think Microsoft is just going to ship a white label virtual assistant, and that's going to be it. That way BMW can build one, Mercedes can build one, and Microsoft, that's how they're going to make their money with this thing.
Yeah, when you consider the kind of partner-driven, open Microsoft of today, it makes sense that Cortana itself would be a set of skills that can be used alongside other assistants. Perhaps the brand persists, but it may be less forward-facing than it had been to date.
And I truly think that's where Cortana is going. For those who are hoping that their Invoke was going to get some massive updates, or there's going to be an Invoke
Right.
2.
Sure.
No insider information, but I'm not holding my breath for something like that.
I think Cortana becomes a different thing than that.
I think it kind of has to.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing too is they mentioned Alexa on stage, and I'm sorry if I just activated all your stuff. It seems like they're getting more cozy with Amazon because
Yeah. Well, again, Microsoft being partner-driven likes to work with the dominant players in whatever business, and that in the same sense that they don't have a phone business today, and they do a lot of work on Android because it's so open and available. They can work with Amazon, which is one of the dominant voice assistants today, and I think that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think it does. I mean, you can now do the Skype calls. I think everything's going to eventually kind of wean that way.
Right.
So, other things that were announced. So there's this new unified search, as Microsoft calls it. They gave it a real fancy name called Unified Search. The idea here is that there's a search bar in basically every Microsoft Office application and Windows and a lot of their Microsoft 365 products.
Yep.
And the idea is that that search bar has been pretty underutilized. And so what they're doing is turning it into what they're calling unified search, which means you can uncover content from anywhere in your org through that search box inside an application.
Yeah.
Which I think is actually going to be pretty powerful, provided they get it right.
So I actually think this might be the biggest news from the show.
I do agree.
And it encompasses a lot of different things. We just mentioned Cortana. Today, Cortana is search in Windows 10, and when you consider that they're replacing that essentially with a unified search capability, further evidence that Cortana as a brand, especially for individuals, is maybe going by the wayside. But on the back end, what's interesting here is that this is all based on the Microsoft Graph.
Yeah.
Right? And instead of, the way that Microsoft Graph kind of evolved is that you would have situation-specific capabilities. So you might have a graph in your enterprise that was specific to the documents you were working on through Office 365 or whatever. And this kind of brings it out into kind of a meta capability where it will work across all these different things. So if you sign into Windows 10, let's say, with your Azure AD account, which is tied to an Office 365 account, you're gonna, all this stuff is going to appear in one place. And I actually think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. The interesting thing here is that Microsoft is somewhat, now granted Windows is still a big part of this, but they're doing this almost outside of Windows.
Yeah.
There's been a big trend, and I'm going to try to figure out how to word this into a more articulate post, but Microsoft is removing the burden of Windows from their life. Right?
From Microsoft's life.
From Microsoft's life, meaning that everything has to be deeply integrated through Windows.
Right.
We're no longer seeing that. We see that with the Cortana and bot stuff. We see that with this new unified search. And that Microsoft is charging ahead. And I believe we're going to start seeing this on the security front as well.
Yeah.
Where Windows, sure, it's the core of Microsoft, but it's not like everything has to be built on top of or in and around
Actually, I'd argue it's no longer the core of Microsoft. It was. And also, for whatever it's worth, Cortana today in Windows 10 is actually developed outside of the Windows org as it is. I think you just alluded to that. So this shift is going to be an easy thing. It's just a different thing plugging into the same system as far as the Windows org is. Well, there is no Windows org, but as far as the various scripts that make Windows are concerned. But I think Windows as a kind of surface for other capabilities around Microsoft, I think we're going to see more of this kind of stuff moving forward for sure.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how Microsoft continues to evolve. Obviously, here they're pushing this Microsoft 365, which is kind of, well, maybe it is the brand that's replaced Windows. They needed something to backfill.
Right.
And it seems like it's Microsoft 365, which does encompass Windows.
Yep. There's a Microsoft Managed Desktop, which is kind of an extension of Microsoft 365, almost a high-end SKU of Microsoft 365.
Yep.
There's the virtual desktop stuff they announced today, I believe.
Yep.
Which kind of ties into this. And again, it's not necessarily coming out of what used to be a central Windows organization. It's coming out of a bigger organization that encompasses other things like Office 365 and so forth.
So the interesting thing about the virtual desktops that Microsoft announced that will run on Azure is if you sign up for this service, they're going to give you free Windows 7 updates past the 2020.
Okay.
I think we're going to start to see Microsoft using that as a leverage in several different spots. It wouldn't surprise me.
Well, yeah, if you have to keep using Windows 7, please virtualize it. That actually makes tons of sense.
Yeah. And so I would expect that we'll see Microsoft use that carrot to get people to jump through different hoops.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be expensive if you're still running Windows 7 at scale after 2020, which is, 16 months away?
Yep.
So. Anything else that's caught your eye here, Paul? Like any
SQL
flamingos?
Server in 2019 is endlessly fascinating, I guess. Is now in preview. Windows Server 2019, I think, is coming out next month.
Yep.
There was a bunch of stuff around Azure Sphere, which is available now in public preview. That's super interesting.
The one thing, too, they also have is if you're a Mac user, Files on Demand.
That's right.
That's actually a pretty big thing. It's one of those features that you don't even realize you're using, which is a perfect feature because I use it all the time actually on my Surface Pro.
Yeah.
And then you just realize, oh, it's actually downloading that. I didn't even realize it wasn't
So is
here.
that publicly available?
That I don't know. As Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, exactly. Funky Cold Medina.
Yeah.
So the way that OneDrive works on the Mac today, or has through today, has been the way it used to work on Windows 10, right? You choose the folders you want to sync, they sync down, it works fine. But if you want to ever add anything else, you have to kind of manually handle that. And now you'll be able to see your entire OneDrive folder structure in the Finder
Yeah.
on the Mac, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good.
So it's been a very packed morning. Actually, it's almost 1 o'clock, which is kind of crazy. I don't really know where time went. Maybe it's the heat and humidity.
Right.
Anything else, Paul? That's you thought?
I mean, that's the big stuff. We should talk a little bit about how people can find us, because we've
Yes.
got more stuff going on here.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing the podcast on the big stage tomorrow, and we are in Hall C. Is that where we are right now?
This is the West Hall
West Hall.
C. maybe?
Yeah. We're going to be doing there. We got some giveaways. We got some big announcements, I would say.
Yeah.
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 Surface
so-
related, so don't go crazy with your
But definitely
speculation.
show up if you
Yeah.
can, because we will have T-shirts and other things to
Giveaways
give away. So that's kind of cool. We have a meetup tomorrow night.
We do.
4:30 to 6:30.
Yep.
At where? What is the?
Canyon.
Yep. Jeez, we're terrible at this.
We're really good at our jobs.
Anyway, if you go to Thurrott.com, we have the exact location. Sorry about that. It's on Industrial Drive here.
Yeah, it's not far. It's not far from the conference center. We know that because
Yep.
we refuse to walk any further.
Right.
So,
Okay. I can't believe, like, Copper Canyon
yes, that's it.
is the name of the place. Anyway.
So you can find us there. You can find us here. You can find us in a box
Yes.
in the middle of
I
the
do not like this podcast in a box. I do not like it on a train.
and I do not like watching it on Firefox.
Yep.
So, all right, folks, we're going to wrap it up here for today. Make sure to check out the sites. Petri has a ton of content, very technical stuff written by Aiden and Tony and myself.
Yep.
Paul has done an excellent job of hitting.
Plus, slightly more amateurish content available on Thurrott.com. I know what you're trying to say. It's okay. It's okay.
I was going to say higher level and more analytic,
There you go.
also more annoying. But yes, it is on
And Mehdi,
Thurrott.com.
too. And Mehdi wrote a ton of content, too.
Yeah, so there's a lot of good stuff floating around. We'll have more content coming to you later today and tomorrow. And as always, make sure to, you're going to want to tune in tomorrow. We're going to be live streaming. Catch
Yep.
you guys next time.